So BlaXit family, BlaXit family, BlaXit family. How are you today? Today, I've got to tell you that Juliet is really nervous, actually. And I've got great reason to be totally nervous. If you're looking at the screen, you will see why Juliet is totally nervous. Well, firstly, I would like to thank my guests that are on today's show for joining me. I'm going to give a very brief Praesian introduction to both of them. I'd like to start firstly with my all-time superhero of all time. Most of my other heroes, unfortunately, has deceased, like Marcus Garvey, Patrice Lumumba, Stephen Biko. But I am honored today. To have my professor in the flesh. Let me tell you. So, Professor PLO Lumumba, whose full name is actually Patrick Locke Otieno Lumumba, and he was born in 1962, but he doesn't look it. He looks so young. And just to give you a bit of background, he was raised in Yasenj, and it was a little village near Lake Victoria in Kenya, and he's named after our hero. And we recently celebrated our hero's anniversary. So it is, with great honor that we're actually allowed to be here today in honor of him and part of his works and his visions of Africa. Now, he was no ordinary boy. I'll tell you that straight. There is no way that Prof could be an ordinary child. He had to be a prodigy because he still is a prodigy. And I know that your education took you from Nairobi to university, and he got his first degree age 23, yeah? And I've got to say, I am impressed because I know how hard it is to obtain a degree. I tried for my first law degree at a similar age. It's no easy feat. He's also an advocate. And he's a professor, so he's an advocate in the High Court. He has so many law degrees, I've lost count, actually. I was doing his biography, I swear, right? Page after page, after page, after page, after page, after page, after page. I thought the thing that I ought to do, after page, after page, after page, after page. So I think you get my gist. So I'll be doing the introduction for the whole of today's show. So without further ado, I would like to, with great honor and respect, welcome Professor PLO Lumumba to BlaXit family. And for anyone who doesn't know about BlaXit, we are your repatriation, relocation channel that guides you back to the motherland. And there are 46,000 and odd of us in our BlaXit family, and we are humbly welcoming Professor PLO Lumumba to join the BlaXit family today with us. And we are humbled by your presence and grateful that you could join us. So thank you. Please finish your introduction for me, PLO Professor, because it's way too big.
Thank you very much. I'm glad and humbled to be in your distinguished presence. And I have no doubt that you are doing great work for the mother continent. And I'm happy to be associated with your activities now and going forward. The wisdom of the occasion demands that when greatness is in your presence, you unsparingly speak. God bless you.
Oh, thank you so much. I thank you for the accolade, but really, honestly, I'm just Juliet, and I am humbled by your words, and my African name is Nancho, Mandina Kujabi, and that is my chosen name. Juliet is my given name by my mom.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I'm also joined, talking about moms, is by, I would like to say, my son, not by birth, but by choice. And that is the young scholar and promising future leader, Ousman Touray, who joins us now from Kenya. And your accolade is just, for a young man, I am so honored to be in your presence also. You are the promise of the future untold. And we are so looking forward to what you are going to bring to us. And if you are under the guidance of our Professor PLO Lumumba, I know that the future that is coming our way is going to be a very, very blessed one with your presence. So I'd like to introduce...
Yeah, thank you so much, Juliet. Yeah, thank you so much, Juliet. Thank you for having me, and good day to the BlaXit family. Warmest greeting to Professor PLO Lumumba. I see him as my dad. I see him as an instructor. I see him as a mentor. And the time that I've stayed with him so far have shown me, great things and great potentials that the future of the continent can be determined by its youth, and we can shape the future that we want with the noble guidance of himself and individuals like him in the same journey. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, I would like to ask you the first question. So this question is my first question, and this goes off to you, Prof, if you don't mind me calling you Prof, because everybody else does. Prof PLO Lumumba, I love your name. It is, what are your thoughts on the resurrection of Pan-Africanism for the next 100 years?
Let me start by saying that the spirit of Pan-Africanism has never been dead. We talk about Pan-Africanism, we sometimes are made to believe that it started in the 1950s and 1960s. But if you go yonder into history, you will meet Marcus Garvey, Ralph Bunche, and many other Africans in the diaspora who were in the forefront in the struggle for Pan-Africanism. Perhaps two iconic individuals stand out. Marcus Garvey, in the many things that he did out of Jamaica, and an individual that we don't talk of as often as we should, the great South African Pixley Kaisaka Seme, who as a student at the University of Columbia in 1906 delivered the speech referred to as the regeneration of Africa. And many people don't remember that on that day, Pixley Kaisaka Seme said that Africa could only grow if our sons and daughters were decidedly oriented towards our growth. Yeah. It is also important that Pixley Kaisaka Seme was one of the pioneering leaders who inspired African leaders such as Chief Albert Luthuli, who was a great stalwart of the African National Congress in the South African movement, and Rolihlahla Nelson Mandela, among others. Yeah. So that when he's talking about Africa, one must look at it in that context before we come to the 1945 conference in London in the United Kingdom, where we have individuals famously such as Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, yeah. And the story goes on, until Ghana regains our independence in 1957. But even before that, there are great Africans, such as Emmons Kwejiragre, the first Ghanaian ever to obtain a PhD degree and the first deputy principal of the famous college, Achimota College in Ghana. And this history is important because it gives one the context in which one can appreciate the history of Africa, the history of great Africans. And it is not only in, if you go to what Europeans refer to wrongly, Francophone, you meet Senegal, you meet Leopold Sédar Senghor of the Negritude movement, you meet Ahmed Ben Bella in Algeria. And if you move away from the French colonies, you go to the Portuguese colonies and meet Robert, one that I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about Agostino Neto, Samora Moises Machel, Eduardo Mondlane, great Africans in their own right. Then you go down and you'll meet people in Guinea-Bissau, such as Amilcar Cabral, Abel Jassi. Those are the people that we are talking about, and I'm not talking about Ahmed Sékou Touré, I'm not talking about Modibo Keita, I'm not talking about Mokhtar Oldada, I'm not talking about Thomas Sankara, I'm not talking about the great Julius Nyerere, I'm not talking about Kenneth Kaunda, and many others. So that in an assembly such as this, when we begin to talk about the continent, we have to look at the historical context. And not because Ousman Touray is here in his heyday, Dawuda Kairabe Jawara was a great man, because he was one of the pioneering Pan-Africanists. And my sister, therefore, I'm here to restate and to underline the fact that going forward, it is the Tourays of this world. It is you of this world, my good friend Bla, that are going to energize the continent in a totally different way. So that if Kwame Nkrumah, if Modibo Keita, if Patrice Emery Lumumba, if Julius Kambarage Nyerere, if all these great African men were to arise, if Albertina Sisulu and Winnie Madikizela Mandela and the Amazon warriors were to arise, they would be able to appreciate that this is a great continent that has been trivialized and traumatized and punished by other civilizations through slavery, colonization, and neo-colonization, but we have refused to say, die. Our spirit is, in the words of Wole Soyinka, never say die.
Absolutely. So Ousman, yeah, there's a song and it says, I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. So what are your thoughts on Pan-Africanism for the next 100 years? I'm handing the baton from Professor Lumumba across to you now.
Juliet, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And as Prof highly stated, the spirit of Pan-Africanism has always been with us throughout our history, from the beginning of its pioneers or from the starting of its call. And I am a student of development, of course, and basically I've been reading so many, let me say, little things about development on models and systems of governance adopted by so many countries around the world. But I have seen also that Africa got it wrong in so many cases because we have ignored our very own, and that is the spirit of Pan-Africanism and the guidance of the people who champion this very call. Professor just mentioned the likes of Gavi, to whom in their lifetime sacrificed their resources, their entire time, dedicating it to saving a civilization, to saving a history, and to saving a people. And that was for us. And now it is true that Pan-Africanism have never died, but then we have a problem that the spirit of Pan-Africanism have been centralized in the minds of the old people only. And that is where we get it wrong.
Yeah.
African youths must be liberated in the mind for us to think and understand that we have to embrace our consciousness, our civilization, hold to our history and the teaching of the people who left spirits like this, guidance like this, teachings like this. Then we can save our generation. And people like Prof, I am so fortunate to having met them in my life.
It's true.
They have been guiding me in spirit. They have been guiding me virtually. They have been guiding me through literatures. And with the time that I've spent with him, I believe that he is more than what he preaches. His guidance in actions, his guidance in words, his activities will serve a long way in guiding my career. I'm not just saying this because he's here, but he is one of those individuals that I have spent so much time reading about way before knowing him in person. So I just want to say that us as African youths, we have people that we can look up to. We may think that there is scarcity of leaders in Africa, but there is no scarcity of guiders. And people like Prof are people that can spark that exponential growth among African youths in realizing our concerns, in realizing our potentials, and shaping the future that we want to see, alongside with the guidance of Pan-Africanism. Thank you.
So basically, I would like to say something. There was a picture of Professor Lumumba walking down the stairs at an event in Kenya recently. Do you know that I thought that it was Ousman? He could be your son. I swear, the resemblance. It's uncanny, don't you find? Or is it just me? It's true. Even
we've been together for 1 week. We are beginning to look alike.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd like to say those are really good and full answers. And in terms of my opinion of the next 100 years, I was born into a Pan-Africanist family. And so Pan-Africanism was in my blood. And it was always something that was driven as a necessity that you have to come home. You have to return back to Africa. You have to be a part of the change that you want to see. You have to be a part of the change that you want to be. And so we are returning home for this very same purpose. And I am not as learned as either of you wonderful gentlemen, as much as I would like to be. But what I am is a seer of life, an observer of life. And I drink from the pool of knowledge. And when I drink well. And I drink from people like yourself. So I will watch.
You drink copiously.
Yes. So
And you are an autodidact.
yeah, yeah,
Which is self-taught.
yeah, autodidact. So I watch you avidly, and I've been moved and been guided and learned about a lot of people just by watching your speeches, which have moved me to tears, to be honest with you. Some of what you've said in terms of what is needed right now for Africa is so appropriate, so timely, and so accurate. So absolutely accurate. And one of the things that you mentioned about that we needed is future leaders. And I know you have a wonderful project, and I'd like to hear all about it, because I would like to know about the future of future leaders in Africa and the face of possible recolonization for some nations. So what are your thoughts about future leadership for the future of Africa, given the fact that we are facing these changes now?
Bla, a number of things. And the great man that I go back to every so often is the great Nigerian Chinua Achebe. When Chinua wrote his most famous book, Things Fall Apart, in 1958, he was prophetic. And there is a sense, and it depends on where you went to school, whether it's prophetic or prophetic, autodidact or autodidact. It depends on where you went to school.
Absolutely.
But the most important thing about Chinua is this, that in that book, he poses the fundamental question through one of his characters by posing this question: where are the young suckers that will grow when the old banana dies? And when I look at Touray, I know that they are the young suckers. When I look at the young Amos in my office, when I look at Monica Kayesu in my office, when I look at the young Jeruto in my office, when I look at Ayo Ali Balogun in Nigeria, when I look at Kat Cook and many others that I dare not mention across the continent of Africa, have no doubt in my mind that the seed has been planted and that the seed is growing. So that the question is, and if it is not a question, the statement is not that you are the leaders of tomorrow.
Yes.
But the reality is the co-generational leadership. So that the young Touray is a leader with me now. To put it figuratively, as mother cow chews cud, baby cow is watching. You know that cows have no babies, they have calves. But I'm using this very deliberately in order to make my point come home. And I think that that is what we are witnessing in Africa today. There is no shortage of young men and women who are watching and doing the right things because they know that this is a relay race where the baton is handed over from one generation to the other. And you, Bla, you are part of it. You know, you are a midwife. And a midwife is neither the father nor the mother nor the child. The duty of a midwife is to ensure that there is a successful delivery so that the mother and the father are happy and the child cries out in joy. Be a great midwife, as you already.
Oh, wow, that's so powerful. because my name that they gave me means mother who gives birth to warriors. So that's quite adapted. That's just so uncanny, actually. That you would say that. That is totally like on point. That's really actually made me now think that I was maybe given the right name. At first I questioned it, but now I'm accepting it. Yes, I will do that. I will accept the name gladly now because of what you've just said. And
please do.
Sorry? Okay, now I'm going to speed up. Oops, daisy, I've just done something. So basically, I'm going to speak to you both about this very briefly because we've only got a few minutes left. And that is about automatic citizenship. As you may or may not know, I've been championing the cause for quite a few years now for African descendants to receive automatic citizenship, which I'm just going to unpack in a few words. It means that when you initially arrive in Africa, you get partial citizenship. Not full, but partial citizenship that would entitle you to have a certificate of citizenship that will give you almost as many rights as those that live in the country, bar voting rights, because I do feel that you need to understand the politic and what's going on in the country. I also think that you should also have some form of integration and assimilation, and also try to learn a language over a period of time. After that period of time is extinguished, then you may go for full citizenship in the same process as before. Now, I'm doing that as part of a compromise because of the fact that they were reviewing the constitution in this country, and they had made suggestions, and that was in meeting with those suggestions in finding a process. So my personal thoughts are that the door should be opened for African descendants returning back to Africa. My thoughts are that when my ancestors were taken, there was no such thing as citizenship, passports, or immigration. There was whips and chains and force and torture and the most inhumane crimes ever committed to any human being on the face of the planet throughout the history of man and womankind. So, or humanity. So I'd like your thoughts on automatic citizenship for African descendants who are coming home. Currently in the Gambia, we face 15 years we have to wait for naturalization before we can go for citizenship. So I'd like to first go to you, Professor PLO Lumumba, and ask you your thoughts, and then over to you, Ousman.
Thank you very much. I am very clear in mind that the question of citizenship is a critical issue. And one of the things that has happened in the last 1 year in Ghana, for example, the year of return, which was a year that was announced through the president of Ghana, Nana Dankwa-Addo Akufo-Addo, was a very useful thing because it served to send a clear message that you who are of African descent, whether in the diaspora, you have a home. And what I would love to see is accompanying legislation that gives those who desire to be Ghanaian citizens the right to citizenship without any hurdles at all. I also am aware that in Rwanda, steps have been taken. So one of the things that ought to be done, and this is why it is critical that it is done at the continental level, that when the African heads of states and government meet in Addis Ababa, there should be a protocol that clearly spells out the fact that any person who is of African origin is entitled upon application to acquire citizenship of the country that he or she desires. If that is done, then the problem is solved. And some of us who are in the forefront, if you may, of articulating this issue are going to make demands to the extent that demands are appreciated by those in leadership, that ought to be the case. And one of the things that we ought to do is to identify a few African leaders who are so inclined, so that people in the diaspora don't have to agonize how to access citizenship and, by extension, passports of African continents. And when I say African passports of African continents, I look forward that in the continent, in the context of African Continental Free Trade Area and the Kigali and the Yamoussoukro protocols, in the next 2 years, we will be able to access an African passport that allows me to fly from Cape Town to Cairo, from Djibouti to Dakar, from Bangui to Ouagadougou without let and hindrance. I look forward to that day. So don't worry, it shall come to pass, and there'll be no pain about it. Bla
Xit, yay! So I'm going to go over to you in a sec, Ousman. This is my husband, Adrian. He's the other half of BlaXit. BlaXit was coined from the phrase Brexit, because in Europe we had Brexit. They wanted us to leave. So we said, you know what? We know Brexit. You're coming out of Europe. We're coming out of Europe. We're going to Africa. So you have Brexit. We got BlaXit. So is there anything you'd like to
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Okay. Yeah, hello. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Dr. Lumumba. Thank you so much, PLO. Yeah, and Ousman, it's so good to see you again. You know, you're all of the great champions of Africa. And it is a pleasure, you know, to even have you all time here to share some of your experiences here with the BlaXit family. So thank you very much. Thank you.
So Ousman, let's talk automatic citizenship. What are your views? You know, like I said, for me, I would love it that we just come, we get a stamp in our passport, and we can invest, and we can contribute towards society. We can be welcomed in by all aspects, including governmental aspects of that society. And as you know, we've been waiting a while. We've been waiting patiently for almost a year to have an audience with His Excellency Adama Barrow, the President of the Gambia, and others. And it's been a very patient wait. And we are hoping that they will actually make a public statement about automatic citizenship. 2 press conferences down, we've had no public statement. So what we'd like to know is, what are your views and hopes for automatic citizenship here in the Gambia?
Well, thank you so much, Juliet. Thank you so much, Adrian. I really miss you guys, and I'll be joining you shortly. Yes, about the automatic citizenship, it is something that I was part of those individuals that championed its advocate in the Gambia, because at least I've appeared in the state media making a local campaign and a local call on the people on how we can embrace this great ideology. Because the separation that exists between us and our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, the systematic issue, as like something that was imposed on us, and it was not a matter of choice, but individuals were forced out of the continent. And when we look at people in the diaspora today, that we carry the same skin, we carry the same blood, we look at them as brothers and sisters. So culturally, looking at countries like the Gambia, we don't have a problem. It is a legislative problem, and that can only be changed by people in power. And as Professor just made the call, we have the African Union that all African government looks up to for references. So therefore, they should take the major part in taking decision at the continental level. and therefore other countries will embrace it. We can do some things like that, and therefore we are just recognizing brothers, we are just recognizing sisters and parents, and therefore we can get to the development that we want. For far too long, our brothers and sisters in the diaspora and the continent, there exists a disconnection, and we have to defeat this to make sure that people in the diaspora can come to Africa as their home, because this is where they belong, whether we accept it or not. And if they come in, they're coming with, you know, potentialities, they're coming with investment, they're coming with skills, they're coming with knowledge. And these are the things that the African continent needs today.
One nation, one Africa. Thank you, BlaXit family. Please keep watching, please subscribing, and remember, follow your dreams.
Purchase your tracks today. Purchase your tracks today.